Season 19 of Heartland kicked off with a literal blaze, and not just in the emotional sense. The premiere episode opened with a high-stakes wildfire threatening everything the Heartland family holds dear. But true to form, it wasn't just fire they had to fight. There were internal doubts, unresolved conflicts, and difficult choices to make in the face of danger. As the flames rose, so did the stakes, and the episode delivered the kind of grounded, heartfelt drama that's made Heartland a long-standing fan favorite. Ready to dive deeper into everything that happened during this episode? Then keep on listening to this recap of Heartland Season 19, Episode 1. At the start of the episode, we saw Jack and Lisa out enjoying a ride. But what began as a peaceful trail ride turned ominous fast when a herd of wild horses galloped past them, signaling something was seriously wrong. Moments later, they spotted the smoke, thick, black, and far too close for comfort. A wildfire was bearing down on Hudson, and Heartland was in its path. Back at the ranch, the family barely had time to react before emergency alerts lit up their phones, instructing everyone to evacuate. And just like that, plans and routines were tossed aside as they scrambled to safety. Lisa offered up Fairfield Stables as a place for the family and other neighbors to hunker down, since Fairfield wasn't in the wildfire's path. So Lou, Katie, Amy, and Lindy packed up essentials and evacuated to Fairfield. But Jack, stubborn as ever, decided to stay behind to protect the ranch. And once Lisa realized what Jack was planning, she wasn't about to let him do it alone. At first, Lisa believed Jack when he said that he was staying behind to do everything he could to prevent the ranch from burning down. However, once those critical tasks were done, and Lisa told Jack that they had to leave, he wasn't budging. But pretty quickly, it became clear to Lisa that Jack's resistance to leave wasn't just about defending his family's property. It was more emotional than anything. The ranch wasn't just a home to him. It was a living memory of everything he's fought to preserve. And Jack was terrified not just of losing a building, but of losing the legacy he's been holding on to for decades. When Lisa gently called him out on it, Jack admitted that he didn't want to leave because he didn't want to lose Heartland. It wasn't pride keeping him there. It was grief. Luckily, Lisa met him in that vulnerability. They packed up the most sentimental things. Lisa even helped Jack rip off the door jamb, where there were markings of the heights of Jack's kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. And together, they made the difficult decision to finally evacuate. At Fairfield, fear hung in the air, just as heavily as the smoke outside. Katie confided in Jack about being scared, and Jack comforted her by reminding her that as long as they had each other, there was hope of things working out. And in a trademark Jack way, Jack gave more comfort to Katie by noting that his knees were aching, a sure sign that rain was on the way. And sure enough, late that night, rain began to fall, helping firefighters beat back the flames. When the smoke cleared, the damage was visible. Although both Heartland and Price Ranch had been spared, Miley's new ranch wasn't so lucky, and her barn had burned down. It was devastating to watch Miley arrive at her home, only to see her barn in a pile of ashes and her hopes and dreams of starting a champion barrel horse breeding business crushed with it. Fortunately, the community didn't let Miley wallow in sorrow for long, because once Amy and Jack found out about Miley's loss, they rallied friends and neighbors to help Miley rebuild her barn. So, the episode ended with a string of cars arriving at Miley's ranch, and Amy, Jack, Katie, Lindy, and Nathan, among others, getting to work on building Miley a new barn. Before the wildfire turned everything upside down, Amy had been helping out a familiar face, Logan's ex-girlfriend, Miley. Miley had recently bought her own ranch with a dream of breeding champion barrel racing horses. So, Miley asked Amy for help with Queenie, a pregnant mare she hoped to use as the foundation for her new business. Amy, ever the calming presence, reassured Miley that Queenie's behavior was normal for a mare close to foaling, and that also helped calm Miley down who was anxious about Queenie's health, so much so that she had installed a camera in the barn to be able to monitor Queenie day and night. But neither of them could have predicted how quickly things would spiral because of the wildfire. When the wildfire got closer, Miley rushed to evacuate her horses. But before Miley could load Queenie into the trailer, the horse bolted, leaving Miley to go to Fairfield with only her barrel racing horse. Miley was distressed over leaving Queenie behind, and even though Amy tried to calm Miley down, Miley was still upset. Then Miley got a notification from the barn's camera showing that Queenie had returned to the barn and took off. And Amy decided to go help Miley, telling Lou that she can't leave Miley out there by herself. So Amy and Nathan saddled up their horses and set off to Miley's ranch. And given that Miley was stopped by a police blockade and had to take back roads to get to her home, Amy and Nathan got there first. What they found was worse than they expected. Queenie hadn't just returned to the barn. She was in active labor, and there was no time to get her to safety. So, Amy and Nathan had no choice but to deliver the foal right then and there. And to make things worse, the foal was not positioned properly, so they had to step in to reposition it before the birth could proceed. Just when things started to feel truly hopeless, with Amy trying to reposition the foal, while Nathan tried to put out the fire that had started at the entrance of the barn, Miley finally arrived. She and Amy worked quickly and carefully, finally delivering the foal as Nathan kept the flames at bay. And the timing couldn't have been tighter. Just as the barn began to fill more and more with smoke, they got Queenie and her newborn loaded onto Miley's trailer and to safety. Later, back at Fairfield, when the Heartland family and Miley were marveling at the fact that Amy, Miley, and Nathan had managed to deliver the filly and get out in time, Miley suggested that they should give the little one a name fitting of the incredible way that she came into this world. And Lindy came up with the perfect one: Lucky. During the previous season, we saw Amy and Nathan's relationship quietly blossoming, culminating in them saying "I love yous" at the end of season 18. And at the beginning of this episode, it was clear that they had found something real since the episode opened, with Amy helping Nathan unload hay bales from his truck while they talked about the next steps of their relationship. During that conversation, we also found out that although almost everyone already knew that Nathan and Amy were together, Nathan hadn't been to an official family dinner yet, and Amy was looking to change that. So, she invited Nathan to his first family dinner, after which Amy and Nathan were planning on finally telling Lindy that they were dating. But then the wildfire both extinguished any hopes of a peaceful evening and brought out some deep-seated fears for Lindy, leading to Amy rethinking her decision to tell her daughter about her new relationship. Amid the wildfire chaos, when Amy was pulled away to help rescue Queenie, Lindy, still carrying the trauma of losing her father, didn't want Amy to go. And then, while Amy was away, the little girl refused to go to Lisa's house to sleep until Amy was back safe and sound. When Amy did return, it was clear Lindy was upset over Amy being gone for so long. Lindy even told her mom that Amy couldn't promise Lindy that she would always come back. After all, Ty hadn't. That confession hit Amy hard. She was quick to reassure her daughter that she's not going anywhere, no matter what. But later that night, after Lisa took Lindy to her house to rest, Amy opened up to Nathan about not being sure that she made the right call when she left her scared daughter to go save a horse. Nathan, supportive as ever, reassured her that saving Queenie was indeed the right call, but Amy couldn't shake her guilt, which led to Amy doubting if it's the right time to tell Lindy about their relationship. Fortunately, Nathan took it all in stride. He didn't pressure Amy, instead, promising to wait for Amy to be ready, no matter how long it took. While the wildfire forced neighbors to band together in survival mode, Gracie Price had other things on her mind. Gracie had returned to Hudson to make moves, and from the start of the episode, her motives were under scrutiny. After Gracie and Nathan evacuated to Fairfield, the Heartland family finally met Nathan's elusive sister, and Lou realized that she had already talked to Gracie once before. We saw Gracie approach Lou at the open house in the final episode of season 18, seemingly to scope out the competition, but Gracie didn't introduce herself to Lou properly. So, in this episode, Lou finally found out that the woman she talked to at the open house was, in fact, Nathan's sister, Gracie. After that interaction, Nathan confronted his sister, since he didn't know Gracie was at the open house, gently reminding her how much he cares about Amy and asking Gracie not to stir up trouble. But it was clear that Gracie had her own plan in place. After all, the deal between Heartland and Price Beef over having their products sold in Crown Shoppers side by side remained unsigned because of Gracie. Lou, being the savvy businesswoman that she is, immediately picked up on Gracie's shady vibes and decided to do some investigation of her own. So, Lou roped Gracie into helping her create activities for the families that evacuated to Fairfield. It gave Lou a chance to talk to Gracie one-on-one and to make her case about how they are better off as allies than enemies, especially since Amy and Nathan are dating. However, Gracie wasn't quite buying what Lou was selling, since she brought up the fact that Lou revealed Nathan Sr.'s Alzheimer's diagnosis to Crown Shoppers. Lou, of course, quickly acknowledged her misstep and expressed her regret over what she did, still trying to talk Gracie into signing the agreement. But it didn't seem that she was getting through to Gracie. Luckily, Jack helped Lou with a new plan. After he got to Fairfield, he went to talk to Lou, who was monitoring the obstacle course for the kids that Lou and Gracie had set up. And that's when Jack realized that he actually knows Gracie Price. It turns out, Gracie used to hang out with Lou's mom, Marion. In fact, Gracie kind of looked up to Marion. So that, coupled with hearing Lou talk about how she wants to figure out what kind of game Gracie is playing, led Jack to suggest that Lou might want to try a different approach with Gracie. Lou took Jack's advice and approached Gracie with honesty and vulnerability, instead of treating her as an adversary. Lou actually apologized to Gracie for telling Crown Shoppers about Gracie's dad's illness, and that finally seemed to change Gracie's mind about Heartland, at least a little. By the time the evacuation was lifted and the Price siblings returned to their ranch, Gracie was ready to level with Nathan. She told him the real reason she came back wasn't just to throw her weight around, it was to help him run the ranch and turn Price Beef into a success. Nathan was glad of the help, but he did have one condition for Gracie. If she was going to stay and be involved, Amy and Heartland could not be treated like the enemy. And in a surprising twist, Gracie agreed. Gracie even went as far as to say that she's signing the deal because she doesn't want to stand in the way of true love. But Nathan wasn't fully convinced, and neither was I. Katie's story in this episode may have taken a back seat to the chaos of the wildfire, but it still offered a small glimpse into her current state of mind. By the looks of it, she's been spending more and more time with Dodger. So much so, in fact, that she completely lost track of time while out riding and ended up late for her shift at the diner. Though a small moment, it captured a lot about where Katie's at right now. Her connection with Dodger seemed to anchor her, and it might just open up a new direction for her as well, since in the official season 19 trailer, we saw Katie training with a rodeo flag team. Finally, let's talk about Tim. In our season 19 spoilers video, we speculated that Tim would not have a big presence this season. And this episode proved that to be right. Firstly, Chris Potter didn't appear in the opening credits of the show, which indicates that he won't be part of this season. And secondly, neither Tim nor his wife Jessica physically appeared in this first episode. They were both mentioned, though. By the looks of it, after all the soul-searching last season, Tim ultimately decided to take the rodeo announcer gig and has been embracing life on the road ever since. And his family is supporting him fully from back home, since we saw them cheer Tim on from afar by catching his segments whenever possible, Jack even quipping that he's tired of Tim's bad jokes. So while Tim might be physically absent, the show made sure to emphasize that Tim is still deeply tied to the family and the ranch. Heartland's season 19 premiere kicked things off with all the emotional weight and intensity we've come to expect from this show. A wildfire threatening the ranch brought literal and emotional heat, forcing everyone to confront what matters most. If this premiere is any indication, season 19 isn't going to hold back. What did you think of the Heartland season 19 premiere? Were there moments that hit especially hard, or didn't sit quite right? What do you think this season has in store for us? Let's talk it out in the comments, and I'll see you back here next week for another recap.